Time now for Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local. I'm Jamie Eisenberg. That's Dave Richard. That's Heath Cummings. We have starts and sits you need for week number 2. Let's start right with it with the start of the week, and that's Ben Roethlisberger taking on a Raiders defense that hopefully will be tired after playing Monday night in overtime against the Ravens. Traveling across country, Big Ben should have a big opportunity at home because he typically does well in his home openers, averaging nearly 30 fantasy points per game in his last 5 home openers that he started and finished. Roethlisberger should have a big performance in week number 2. I'm starting him along with Juju Smith-Schuster, who should take advantage of the matchup against the Raiders. Their secondary is going to be tested much more than it was against that Ravens passing attack. So Juju should come off that game against Buffalo, where he struggled a little bit. Big-time bounce-back performance for Big Ben and Juju in week number 2. Dave, the guys that you're starting this week, one running back that probably jumps out to a lot of people is Leonard Fournette. Bruce Arians saying that Ronald Jones will start, but you're starting Fournette as an option for this week.
I don't know if I even believe that Ronald Jones is going to start, and even if he does, Leonard Fournette should see more playing time, just like he did in week 1. He's done absolutely nothing to lose playing time. He's not the one that fumbled in week 1. And by the way, who made a bigger impact in the passing game, Fournette or Jones or even Giovanni Bernard? I think Fournette's the best running back there. The Falcons allowed more than 2.5 yards before contact per attempt to both Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell last week. That run defense is not good. You're going to see Fournette put up good numbers.
Let's stick with the running backs there, and we know a big player for fantasy managers this week was Elijah Mitchell. And Heath, you're saying start him right after coming off the free agency scrap heap, and good performance the last week against the Lions.
I will start pretty much anyone if you put them as the starting running back for the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't know how long that will be the case for Elijah Mitchell, but that should be the case in week 2. This team over the past 3 or 4 seasons has been the best in the NFL at creating yards before contact for their running backs. Mitchell will benefit in week 2.
All right, so you're starting Elijah Mitchell, but you're sitting Brandon Cooks. We're going to do a little quick debate here, a start-sit debate between you and Dave, because Dave likes Brandon Cooks for this week. I happen to as well, but Heath, you're saying to sit him.
The Texans' implied total for this week, 17.75, the lowest in week 2, lower even than the Jets with a rookie quarterback against Bill Belichick. That's how bad they think the Texans are going to be, and I fear for Tyrod Taylor with this Browns pass rush. I fear for Cooks in fantasy as well.
Yeah, they said the Texans had a low implied total in week 1, and look what happened. Cooks had over 100 yards in the first half. He's had over a 20% target share, not just in the first half, but even in the second half when the Texans had a lead. They didn't have to throw that much. Cooks is the guy that Tyrod Taylor is going to look to, and if it is a game where they're playing from behind, I imagine there will be more targets and more numbers for Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, 7 targets in that game. I'm expecting closer to double digits, so I do like Brandon Cooks as well, but we'll see if Heath is right based on the Vegas line telling you that they're not going to score a lot of points in this game. All right, so Dave, the guys that you're sitting in week number 2 include a pretty important running back here, and that's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know you don't like Elijah Mitchell, even though Heath does, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire did have a good performance against Baltimore last season.
He did, and since that game, there's been 13 games since. He's only had 2 games where he's had at least 6 targets or more, 6 or more targets in those games. So I'm not sure just how much work he's going to get in the passing game, and he's not as involved in the run game as you'd like him to be. This is a Chiefs offense that is clearly behind Patrick Mahomes. That includes when they're in the red zone. They had 13 snaps in the red zone in week 1. Edwards-Helaire had 2 touches over those whole 13 snaps. Your only hope with Edwards-Helaire is that he finds the end zone.
And maybe that's true, but I still think he's going to be involved. We did see that the Raiders had some success throwing on the Ravens with their running backs, with Kenyon Drake getting 5 catches, 6 total catches between Drake and Josh Jacobs. So hopefully Edwards-Helaire, who did have 5 catches for 70 yards against Baltimore in that game last year, comes through. So I actually like him in week number 2. I would start him over Mike Davis and James Robinson, but I'm also going to try and shy away from Corey Davis and Deebo Samuel, both guys coming off monster performances in week 1. Samuel, we'll see what happens with Brandon Ayuk, but I think you're going to see a tough matchup for him with Darius Slay. And Corey Davis, oh my gosh, stay away from all the Jets because Bill Belichick destroys rookie quarterbacks, so good luck Zach Wilson without Mekhi Becton on the field. Make sure you check out our Fantasy Football Today podcast, available wherever podcasts are found. If you like the fantasy information we give you here, you're going to love the fantasy football information you give from our Fantasy Football Today podcast. And you'll certainly love our Fantasy Football Today show on CBS Sports HQ. We're live every day, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern and Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern. For Dave, for Heath, I'm Jamie. Thanks for watching Fantasy Football Today for CBS Local.